بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, we are on the uh, among the closing sessions of the series of classes on lessons from the lives of the Anbiya alayhimus salam, and we are looking at the life of Musa alayhi salam, one of the richest of the lives of the Anbiya, richest in terms of the lessons that it contains for those who are interested in learning from the life of one of the greatest of the prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is if you think about the two Anbiya closest to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have Isa alayhi salam, who is the closest, and then you have Musa alayhi salam, who came before Isa alayhi salam. But interestingly, if you compare these two great messengers and prophets of Allah, Isa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam, with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his seerah, you find that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam resembles Musa alayhi salam much more than Isa alayhi salam. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's birth was a normal birth, like any human being is born. He had both parents. He grew up in various kinds of tests and hardships and so on, which he faced throughout his life. He worked. He had a business. He ran a business. Then he got prophethood, and after he got prophethood, he was subjected to all kinds of difficulties and tests from his people, from the Quraysh and from the other Arab tribes of the Hijaz. And then he married, he had children, and then he died a normal death. He also, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the Sahibu Sharia. He came with a book, and he came with a complete way of life and a law. If you look at Musa alayhi salam, all of these things apply to him. He was born, he had parents, both parents. He grew up, faced different hardships, declared prophethood, he married, he had children, and he died a natural death. And he was also a Sahibul Sharia, Sahibul Kitab. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought in battles, Musa alayhi salam fought in battles. So all of these things there are similar between these two messengers and prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isa alayhi salam, on the other hand, had a miraculous birth. Isa alayhi salam had no father. He was born of his mother, and that's how he is Isa ibn Maryam, and not the name of a father, because he had no father. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him as a sign of him. He is one of the ayatullah. Isa alayhi salam never married. Isa alayhi salam didn't have children. Isa alayhi salam did not bring a specific Sharia and a book. Isa alayhi salam came to reinforce the Sharia of Musa alayhi salam. He came to reinforce the Torah. He came to reinforce the laws that Musa alayhi salam had brought. So there is a lot of similarity between these two. And Isa alayhi salam did not die a natural death. Isa alayhi salam was elevated and saved from being crucified, which is what they were trying to do to him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him, and he is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it is time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send him back, and then he will fulfill the normal conditions of a man, of a human being, where he will marry and then he will die a natural death. So this is the just as an aside, something that you might want to think and reflect on in terms of similarities that we have with the Nabi of Bani Israel. And that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we are the last ummah, and the ummah before us is the Bani Israel. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will imitate them and you will follow them. If they went into one lizard hole, you will also go into the same lizard hole. And may Allah protect us from doing this. This is not to be taken as something that has been imposed on us, but it's something that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam warned us against, and he said, do not be in a situation where you fall prey to such things. That's why we need to keep ourselves alert about these matters. We were talking about the lessons that we learned from his life, Musa alayhi salam, and we were at the point in the last class of him standing before Fir'aun, and therefore the lesson we learned there is, apart from tawakkul, which is at the level of excellence, alhamdulillah, we also learn the lesson of understanding that nobody can help or harm other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La nafi wa la dharra illallah. So no matter what force is arrayed before you in terms of those who seek your demise and those who seek to harm you, there is nothing to fear, because their force and their strength and their wealth and their abilities compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the creator and the sustainer and the maintainer of the entire universe, is not even worth talking about. There is no comparison. It's not something that we need to give even a second thought to. And that is a very, very important thing to keep in mind and to understand. And we see this reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this complete trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this manifestation of courage based on the knowledge that only and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help or harm anybody. All of this we see in the beautiful life of Musa alayhi salam. And these are lessons to be taken from that life. Then we see Musa alayhi salam and his dedication to his deen, to his people, his dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see how Musa alayhi salam lived through the difficulties that he faced. And again, one of the similarities between Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Musa alayhi salam is that their own people were the one who opposed them and who caused them difficulties. Now imagine in this case of Musa alayhi salam, Firaun already and the Egyptians were already against him. I mean, they were his declared enemies. But Musa alayhi salam had enemies within his own people, among the Bani Israel themselves. SubhanAllah, how similar that is to our case, to the case of the Muslims, and how similar it is. We see signs of this in the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. For example, one of his greatest enemies was his own uncle, his flesh and blood, his own uncle, Abu Lahab, and his own aunt, the wife of Abu Lahab. For many years, one of his greatest enemies was Abu Sufyan. Later, of course, he became Muslim and he became radiallahu anhu, but for a long part of his life. So a lot of people who opposed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were his own people, his own family, his own people. And so also in the case of Musa alayhi salam, he had, Qarun was from among the people of Musa alayhi salam, and many other people in the Bani Israel, they opposed Musa alayhi salam. Samiri created, he actually started idol worship back again among the Bani Israel. Anyway, so this is Musa alayhi salam faced all that. And then so the lesson we learn is how can we remain steadfast on the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for us, no matter what happens. Never get discouraged, never lose hope, never abandon your work. No matter what happens. I mean, in the case of Musa alayhi salam, imagine, I sometimes think, the hearts of the Anbiya, how much punishment they can take. If you think about that, here is Musa alayhi salam, he spent his whole life, he completely dedicates his life to freeing the Bani Israel from the clutches of Firaun, from the slavery of Firaun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised them the Holy Land. He promised them, Jerusalem and the environs of Jerusalem. But after freeing them from Firaun, they refused to enter the promised land. Right? They just sat there. They said to Musa alayhi salam, you and your Rabb go and fight. We are here. We are going to sit here and watch. I mean, physical pain is one thing, but how much more painful is this spiritual pain? Imagine how sad Musa alayhi salam must have been, how grief-stricken, how even sorry and ashamed before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, you are giving this thing and my people don't want it. La hawla quwwata illa billah. And not as if they had something better. They had nothing. But this is the burden of leadership, right? Burden of leadership is to continue in your effort no matter what happens. No matter who's with you or who's not with you. So this is a huge lesson we learn. Then we have the lesson where Musa alayhi salam now is along with his people. He's at the bank of the sea, and the army of Pharaoh is coming in full strength behind them, obviously with the intention of completely decimating and slaughtering perhaps every living person there. And they were more than capable of doing that, right? Now Musa alayhi salam is standing there. But you do not see any sign of fear, any sign of hopelessness, any sign of discouragement in Musa alayhi salam. Even though his people themselves, they said to him, they said, you are going to get us killed. हमारी जैसे उर्दू में कहते हैं मरवाओगे इतनी बदतमीजी. I mean, imagine that this is so disgusting, it is so impertinent, it's so disrespectful that this Nabi of theirs, this Rasul of Allah, frees them from the clutches of Pharaoh, something they would not even have dreamt of. And he brings them and they say, but you are going to get us killed. I mean, is that why he did it? Is that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala freed them from Pharaoh so that they can be killed by Pharaoh on the bank of the Red Sea? But think about, again, the lesson for us. As I told you, we are not here to bad talk Bani Israel. We are here to take the lessons from that. And the lesson we learn is that when our faith is tested, when we are trying things and then we find a difficulty, what happens to us? How many of us simply abandon everything and we say, La hawla quwwata illa billah, this is the end, I am finished, I am lost. Or you say, Alhamdulillah, my Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu, if I just think back in my own life, how many times did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help me? Where was I from there to here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me. Did He bring me all the way here so that I will die? It's like a friend of mine, her tagline is, I did not come this far to come this far. I didn't come this far to come this far. Meaning I am not at my destination. I am still continuing on my journey. Somebody asked a wise man, they said, how do I know when my job is over, when my given task is over? He said, if you are alive, it is not over. If you are alive, it is not over. And this is the lesson we learn. Musa alayhi salam continues. Musa alayhi salam said, my Rabb is with me. And this is another contrast. Musa alayhi salam said, my Rabb is with me. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, when they were in the Ghar Thawr, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Inna Allah ma'ana. He said, verily Allah is with us. With him and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu. This is how Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam included his ummah in any blessing that he got from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Now, the lesson we learn therefore is that we do not lose hope. We never lose hope, no matter how unreasonable that might seem. No matter how much adversity we might face, no matter how many enemies are arrayed before us, we never lose hope because we are Muslim. We are standing there next to Musa alayhi salam and we are seeing what Musa alayhi salam is seeing, which is the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, my Rabb promised me. He's promised me that He will save me from this. And He will save me. I have no doubt about this. So we learn this lesson of complete and total faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what helps to develop that is to reflect in our own life and say, how many times did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help me? And every single one of us has not one, we have multiple incidents. where we were helped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then when Musa alayhi salam, when they cross the sea and so on and so forth, and after that the lesson we learn is what? We say what the Samari did. When Musa alayhi salam was called to the mountain, and he was with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his 40 days of i'tikaf. In that period, the Samari got the Bani Israel to make a calf out of gold, and he got them to worship that calf. Now, what is the lesson for us? The lesson for us is that one must never relax. One must never relax. One must never feel that, oh, okay, I'm all set, alhamdulillah. Like, I'm a Muslim, I'm on Tawheed, I try to practice the Sunnah as much as possible, nothing can go wrong. Ibn Masud radiallahu anhu said, follow those who are dead. Follow those who are dead. They asked him, what is the meaning of that? He said, the ones who lived on Islam and who died with Iman. These are the people who are safe, inshallah. But anyone who has Iman, no matter how well and how good that person might be, that person is not safe until he dies or she dies with Iman. Only when they have died with Iman, then they are safe, because then they are beyond the reach of shaitan. There is a famous story of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahmahullah ta'ala, when his last moments, when he was dying, his son Muhammad bin Ahmad, rahmatullahi ta'ala, was sitting with him, and he saw his father was in a state of nazar. He would lose consciousness, and he would regain consciousness. And every time he regained consciousness, he says, not yet, not yet. And Muhammad bin Ahmad, rahmatullahi, he said, I got worried. I said, what is this happened to my father? I mean, in his last moments, what is happening to him? Why is he saying not yet? Is he afraid of death or what? So he asked him, he said, my father, why are you saying, what is this not yet? Imam Ahmad said, don't you see who is here? He said, who is here? He said, Iblis is here. And he is telling me, oh Ahmad, you have escaped me. You have escaped me. And I am telling him, not yet, because I am still alive. Only when I die with Iman, then inshallah I have escaped. So this story of Musa alayhi salam teaches us that. Because here were the Bani Israel. Imagine, these people were people, they were people like us. I mean, it's not as if they were all evil people. They were not evil people. They were ordinary human beings, like you and me. And there were people who saw the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the hands of Musa alayhi salam, and not one, they saw multiple miracles. Multiple miracles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fed them with manna and salwa in the desert. The very fact that they saw the sea parting and 12 passages being made in the sea with dry land and with the water standing on either side like walls. Imagine, I'm just thinking about these things. I mean, you can't blame those people who sometimes, wonder, and they say, well, how is it possible? And may Allah protect us from these people lose their faith. Because it sounds so fantastic. Until, of course, you realize that if you are thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jalla Jalaluhu, then what is difficult for the one who made water to get that water to do something which it does not normally do? So they saw all of this, yet they fell into the trap of the Samari, and they made this calf, and they started worshipping this calf. So, lesson is, never relax. Continuously renew your Iman. Continuously keep fighting to make sure that your Iman is intact. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for thabat. We ask Allah for consistency. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of righteousness, the path of steadfastness. We ask Allah for strength in our Iman. Right? Then we see the lesson we learn which I mentioned before, is when these people, they refused to fight the Philistines who were occupying Jerusalem. The big lesson here is that even though the Nabi was with them, and this is not any Nabi, this is Musa alayhi salam, Kalimullah, the one who Allah spoke to, and the one who spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though the Nabi was with them, to succeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to them, go and fight and I will give you victory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could simply have vaporized all the Philistines and said, okay, now Jerusalem is clean. Now it has been sanitized. Walk in. No. The lesson here is that in this Alamul Asbab, if you want success, you have to work for it no matter who is with you. No matter how righteous you are, no matter that you are on the right path, effort must be made. Without making effort, you will not get it. And in the case of Bani Israel, they refused to make effort. They said, no, we can't fight. We will not fight. Those people are very strong. So they became cowards. They refused to take action, even though they had the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. And Allah said, okay, if you don't want to fight, I will not give you Jerusalem. I will not give you the Holy Land. As I mentioned to you, we have in the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for example, his whole life is a struggle. Why did he need to struggle? Why did he need to struggle? He could have simply made dua for anything, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have granted it to him. Without a doubt. The whole idea is to teach us, to say that if you want something, then you have to do something. Nothing happens by its own. Nothing happens on its own, by itself. Right? So we see that lesson. Then we have the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam, and all the lessons of that story. The fundamental lesson of that story is that there are things that happen in the world which we do not understand. But they happen not accidentally. They happen because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the wisdom, and in His wisdom and in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's scheme of things, that is the best thing to happen at that time, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables that thing to happen. Some of those are painful, as we see in the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. Some of those are painful. But when you have trust and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will see you through those difficulties. We also see that if you are righteous, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you and help you. The boatmen were righteous, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Khidr alayhi salam to save their boat. It was saved in an unusual way by making it defective so that temporarily it was not operative, but in the long run saved their livelihood. The boy who was killed, again, because the parents were righteous, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not wish to give them the pain and trouble that this boy would have brought. But look at it from the perspective of the parents. They don't know all this. This is what Khidr alayhi salam explained to Musa alayhi salam. Even Musa alayhi salam didn't know all this. All he saw was Khidr alayhi salam killing a small boy, and he said, what is this? How can you just kill somebody like this? Because he didn't understand, he didn't know what was happening. So we see this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of the righteous people. So these parents were righteous, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them from a lot of pain and suffering potentially and gave them something better. Similarly, the wall which had been built by the righteous father to conceal the treasure which was beneath it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of the orphans even though the parents were no longer there. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a special envoy to ensure that that treasure which was meant for the orphan children would be intact and safe, and it would be given to them at the right time. Right? These are all lessons we learn. We say, Alhamdulillah. So this is the life of Musa alayhi salam, and these are all the lessons that we learn from his life. The final lesson that we learn is that Musa alayhi salam died without seeing success because his people did not cooperate with him. And so we must understand this, that even though you may not see success, it is not because of what you did or didn't do. It can also happen because of others in the scheme of things who, had they supported you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have opened those doors. Our understanding of qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that it is not something which is willy-nilly driven and forced on us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us choices to open doors, and when we open a particular door, then what is behind this door is the qadar. But we are not compelled. Allah does not force us. Allah knows what we will do. That's a different issue. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows us. He created us. But Allah is not compelling us. Allah is not forcing us to make this or that choice. And that's the reason why we are responsible for our choices. We will be rewarded for the choice, or we will be punished. May Allah protect us. If we had been forced into the choice, then we could not legitimately claim a reward, and nor could we be punished without that being unjust in both cases, because we had no control over this. Right? It's an involuntary thing. But that is not our understanding and concept of qadar in Islam. And that's the reason why it's very important to be content with the qadar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for us, inshallah. Rida bil qada. Rida bil qada is the biggest wealth that we can have. Because that's what gives us contentment, qanaat. Be satisfied with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. By all means, make effort for more if you want. But before you make that effort, ask yourself, why am I asking for more? Why am I asking for more? Because if Allah has given me sufficient for my needs, why do I want more? To do what? Now, if there is a good reason, for example, I want more because I want to be able to do more good work. I want more so I can give more charity. I want more because I want to establish a organization which is iconic to represent and showcase Islam. Maybe reason. Now again, remember, this is not a matter of semantics. This is not a matter of making up some reason just because you still want to chase the latest car or the latest whatever, right? No. You're looking at genuineness. What is the niyyah in your heart? What is the genuine, real reason why you want to do this? There's a famous story in the Seerah, I will end with this, where a Sahabi came to Rasulullah and he said, Ya Rasulullah, please make dua that Allah must give me more wealth. Rasulullah refused. He said, I will not make this dua, don't ask me for this dua. But he was very insistent. He said, no, please, Ya Rasulullah, please make dua. I want more wealth. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me more wealth. Now remember, he's not talking about haram, but halal. So Rasulullah made dua. He said, oh Allah, give him more wealth. Now this man had some sheep and goats and cattle and so on. And then when the dua of the Nabi alayhi salam happened, this man's animals, they multiplied. He had lots and lots of animals. And he became very wealthy. Now the first casualty of that was that he stopped coming to the masjid for 5 times of salah, because he could not any longer live in the house that he used to live in, which was close to the masjid, because he had all these animals. So he had to go out of Medina to a place where he could accommodate, he had enough land to be able to accommodate all these animals. So he did that, he started living there, and therefore his presence in Masjid al-Nabawi al-Sharif, and his opportunity to pray behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the first casualty. Anyway, that happened. After that, it was time for zakat, end of year. So the collectors of zakat from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to him to ask for his zakat. So he said, how much? So they calculated it for him and they said, so much. Now obviously, because he had a lot of animals, the zakat amount also was fairly large. The same amount in percentage, but same. So the man said, oh, but I struggled so hard to make up all this and so on, and you are asking for so much. So these people said, look, we are not asking for anything. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed, and you know this as well as us. Will you give or not? So he said, no, I will not give, and let me think about it and so on. So they left. Now when they came back, they reported the matter to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, obviously, as that was their job. So they came back and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we could not collect zakat from this man because of this. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't say anything. In the night, the man himself realized that I have done something very seriously wrong. I sent away the collectors of zakat who came. And so the next morning, he came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the number of animals or whatever it was that was due from him, and he came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have come with my zakat. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Allah and His Nabi are not in need of your zakat, take it away. So he had to leave. Before the next year zakat was due, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away. He died. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu became the Khalifa. Now when that happened, this man came very early. As soon as zakat was due, 12 months over, this man came, and he came with the right amount, which was even bigger than the previous amount. And he came and said, this is for my zakat for the state. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu said, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not accept from you, I will not accept from you. Right? He said, do what you want, I will not accept from you. That man died without being able to pay zakat because nobody would take it from him. So never ask for wealth. Ask for afiyah. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu says, that is his father, Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib radhiyallahu anhu, he asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Ya Rasulullah, teach me a dua, the best dua. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ask Allah, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-afiyah. Oh Allah, I ask you for afiyah. I ask you for afiyah. To contrast this with another story, just to reinforce the point, there was a Sahabi to whom, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Mu'adh bin Jabal radhiyallahu anhu, who went to him to collect zakat. And when he calculated the whole thing, what was due from him was a baby camel, a small, immature baby camel. The man said, this is the first time I am able to pay zakat. I have not been able to pay zakat all my life because I never had the money. This is the first year that I have enough money to pay zakat. Instead of a baby camel, he said, what will you do with a baby camel? It's a liability. Instead of that, I would like to give a full-grown female camel, which would be of benefit. So please take that. So Mu'adh bin Jabal radhiyallahu anhu said, look, I cannot take more or less. Whatever is due from you, I can take only that much. So the man said, what shall I do? He said to him, wait, tomorrow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to be, you will come in this place and he will be camping in your area. You can go and ask him. The next day the man went to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he was there. He said, Ya Rasulullah, your zakat collector came to me and this was the story. I owed a baby camel, but I would like to give more. I would like to give a full-grown female camel because it's the first time I'm paying zakat. I don't feel satisfied that I'm giving only so little. I would like to give more. Now see the contrast between the two people. There's one who is reluctant to give what is due, what is fard, and there's another one who wants to give more because he said the rahmah of my Allah, my Rabb is so much. This is not enough. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Alhamdulillah, inshallah, your Rabb will accept this. And he took the zakat in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are all the lessons from the life of Musa alayhi salam. I do not claim that these are the only lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the wisdom and ability to seek more and more. But these are the lessons to the best of my ability that I was able to share with you. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to live our lives by these lessons. The whole point of this is that we live our lives according to the lessons we learn from the Quran and the stories of the Quran relating to the Anbiya alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to do that, to give us the wisdom and the persistence and the sustenance, the sabr, the strength to live a life which is pleasing to Him Jalla Jalaluhu. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.